How's it going, everybody? If you follow me on Instagram, you may well have seen this in my stories, and I got so many questions about this. This is my new fill setup, so I don't have to keep going to the dive station, so I can now fill my own HPA bottles. Having your own fill station is not exactly a simple thing. As you can see, there's lots of like mad scientist stuff going on here. So I'm just going to run you through what is going on here then. So here we have the main compressor, 4,500 psi maximum. It's water cooled, so you can see here is my tank of distilled water. Distilled water's going a little bit cloudy now. Probably could do a change in. In there we've got a pump, so it's pumping water round into the compressor to cool it down. Now ideally, I've got it in my freezer ready to go in a moment. You should have an ice pack that goes in there to keep the water nice and cool. The distilled water, you really could do a distilled water because if you live in a hard water area, you don't want to go getting lime scale inside the system. So that's why I'm using distilled water, because where I live is quite a hard water area. If you live in a soft water area or you've got water softener at home, you're going to be fine. Over here we have the oil and water separator. Now you do really need one of these because when you're compressing air, it does produce moisture. And the last thing you want to get inside your tanks is moisture, because then they start to rust themselves from the inside out. And that's when you're going to run into problems, dangerous problems. Inside this filter, you've got like a glass tube, which has got like lots of little beady things in there. This little black thing here is the only sort of filter that comes with it. It doesn't really do a good enough job to separate the oil and water as needed. All I really keep this in line for is to stop any debris from going into this next one. Now this compressor is the automatic version, which means that on the gauge you can set the desired pressure level and it will cut off when you reach that pressure, which can be bloody handy, but doesn't mean you can walk away and leave your bottles filling unattended. Before we go any further, this is the ice pack that I mentioned to keep the distilled water nice and cool, running through that compressor to keep it properly cooled. And as you can see, the pump is running, it's circulating that ice cold water. On the top of the compressor you've got your power switch, so when you turn it on, the internal temperature gauge flashes up in red and it's now showing 10.6 degrees. I'm not sure whether that's Celsius or Fahrenheit. I'm guessing it's Celsius, but it doesn't actually say what it is. I'm told, well, in the manual it says that you shouldn't run these things above 75 degrees Celsius, let's say. But then I've also heard that you shouldn't run it above 65. So I'm going to stick to 65. If it goes above 65, I will switch the compressor off and just let the cooling do its thing to bring the temperature down, and then you can start using it again. Something else that you're going to have to get for the compressor is oil. Now this runs on a 46 grade oil, compressor oil, hydraulic oil. It apparently needs 200 millilitres in there. That's what I put in there anyway, and it fills it up 3/4 of the way onto that gauge. In my research of this compressor, I learned that you need to change the oil every 30 minutes for the first 30 minutes of use. So every 30 minutes, change the oil. 30 minutes more use, change the oil. And do that 5 times. And then after 5 times, it's okay to run it for like 2 hours at a time. It's just because it's all new and it's all bedding in, and that oil can get really dirty really fast. On top here, you've got your breather, so you must remember before you use it to take the cap off and put the breather on. The cap is for if you're going to travel about with it, so you don't go spilling the oil everywhere. Right, should we go ahead and fill a small bottle? Now this bottle is empty. I'm going to time it and see how long it takes to fill this 13 cubic inch 3000 psi bottle up. Now, still being quite nervous about all this pressure here, I'm going to put on a set of eye protection. Let's go ahead then and fill this bottle up. So we're going to need to connect the quick connection to the fill valve on the bottle, and we're going to just double check that our cooling is all working, which it is. I'm going to time this and we're going to see how long it takes to fill this bottle up. Right, so how are we going to do this now? We're going to turn it on first. This is going to get really loud now, okay, because this thing is just not designed for quietness. And I'm going to have to now close the bleed valves, then it will start filling the bottle up. So I'm going to start the timer, start, and we're going to close the valve. Now we're now filling up. Degrees Celsius. We're now 2000 psi. Cut out any time now. There we go. Let's stop that. Now that just filled that. Hang on. Let me stop this beeping. We're going to have to bleed it. Now let's get as noisy as this bleeding does. Bleed the pressure. Now you can see, look how wet, shut up. Look how wet my fingers are just from bleeding that. There's just water just dripped out of there. Now that would otherwise go inside your tank. That is why you need an oil water separator. Ouch. And I just burnt my hand on this because this is red hot. These are red hot. Okay, where were we then? To fill this 13 cubic inch tank then, from empty, now it's not very often you're going to fill from empty, is it? Normally you've got some air in there. But from empty, it will, you know, take a little bit longer, obviously. And 1 minute 41 seconds there, which is not too bad at all, is it? From empty for 13 cubic inch. Okay, that was good going. Now we've bled the air from the system. We can now disconnect the quick detach, and that is our bottle filled up there. Now we've got something a bit different here. This is a dive tank, and my dad has asked me to fill this up for him. He does air rifle shooting, PCP air rifle shooting. He's asked me to fill this up for him. This is at 3,000 PSI at the moment, just a bit short. We're just going to check that, because you do need to check these before you start filling them up, because I'll show you why in a moment. So let's put the gauge on. The bleed valve's closed. Let's pressure that up. And you can see there we're sitting at a little bit short of 3,000 PSI. This bigger bottle will hold 4,500 PSI, and it's a 5 litre bottle, so it's going to take a lot more to fill this bottle up. So you might need to do it in a few stages. Fill a bit up, let the compressor cool down, fill it up, let it cool down, and just keep going like that until you've got your desired pressure in here. All right, so for this then, I've got my little adapter here. So I'm going to connect that on there. I'm going to connect the quick detach there. So I know this bottle is now at 3,000 PSI. Okay, we're just short of 3,000 PSI. So what I'm going to do, I just need to set my auto shut off to 4,500. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. To start with, I'm going to set it at 4,000. Because I've just put the gauge on it and know that this bottle is at 3,000 PSI, we're going to turn on our system and we're going to pressure the system up to 3,000 PSI. And then when it hits 3,000 PSI, we're going to open that valve and let it do its work. Close the valve. Keep an eye on this gauge here. Now the bottle is now filling. 56. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a rest now for a bit. No air leaks, no hisses, nice and silent. I'm going to just let the cooling, just cool this down a bit before we carry on with it. Go up to about 56, but I really don't want to push it and go and screw this thing up. Okay, we're now just a little bit over 4,000 PSI. I'm going to stop it there, stop this annoying beep, and we're going to shut the valve on the tank. And we're going to release the pressure from the release valve. Now that's our dive tank filled up. It's up to just a bit shy of, it's probably about 280 bar I think in there. I'm going to leave the compressor to cool down. I'm going to leave the cooling system now running for a while just to cool it all down nicely. I'm just going to go with 4,000 PSI for now. It will apparently take it up to 4,500. It was at 3,000 PSI. It's now just a little tiny bit over 4,000 PSI, and that took 3 cool downs and I don't know, I suppose about 15 minutes. So this compressor is probably going to be handy for you if you're just going to fill up, you know, your HPA bottles, your 13 cubic inches, your 26s, your 48s. Even if you're going to fill up a smaller 310 bar, 4,500 PSI carbon fibre tank, it should be good. But when you're filling up these massive 4,500 PSI 5 litre tanks, or even I've got a 7 litre tank down there, it's going to be time consuming. You're going to have to, like I say, let it cool down, then fill a bit more up, let it cool down. So it can be a little bit of a faff. So what did this all cost me then? Right, well there's a few different things here. We've got the compressor itself was £199 I think from Amazon UK. I'm going to put some links down below. They are my affiliate links, so if you do buy through my affiliate links, I do end up getting a little bit of sort of commission through it. I can't recommend this yet. I've not used it long enough to do a review to recommend it. All I'm saying is this is the one that I'm using at the moment. This is the one that I've bought. So if you do want to go and buy the same one, by all means use my affiliate link, but I just can't say that this is going to be any good yet on Hive. What else have we got then? We've got this box here, cost me a £5 from the local sort of hardware shop. This filter, not the filter, the pump here. I'm gonna get my hands wet. This comes with a compressor, so you don't have to buy that, and all the pipes come with it as well. The ice pack is a few quid off Amazon as well. I bought that. You just shove it in the freezer and it freezes it up, and then when it's defrosted, you just put it back in the freezer again. You can use other things, I guess, like you know, just a plastic bottle filled up with water then frozen, and just shove that in there. That would just do the job. Our filters over here. Now this oil and water separator was about £62 off Amazon as well. It's a Tuxing. I think they're like a Chinese manufacturer of these compressors. I think they're quite well known for their Chinese compressor stuff. This came with the quick release, quick detach hose there, and the compressor came with this little filter here. Then this is not going to be good enough for filling up lots of bottles. It's not going to stop water from going in your bottles. This line came with it as well, so this is now attached to that. This is your temperature gauge. You can see it's still at 24. The coolant is still running at the moment, so that is now going down. I'm leaving that running until it's cooled right down. There's your power switch. There's your button to stop and start the compressor. You've got your bleed valves on this side. Now I don't know if these bleed valves are different. I seem to get more water out of this side and air out of this side. There's our oil levels just there. Like I say, I'm going to change the oil on this now. There's the breather. Obviously it needs two plugs, one for the pump, one for the compressor. Well, that's basically it. It's very loud. I do recommend perhaps some ear defenders when you're using this, and probably some eye protection, just in case. You never know. You never know. It's going to be using the compressor to fill up these dive tanks. Now it doesn't have a fill valve like what these smaller bottles us airsofters use have, so it's going to pay you to get, well, you'll need something like this to know how much pressure is in your dive tank before you start to fill, because you can't just plug this directly into that, because you have to open the valve. Then there'll be too much pressure on the piston in there, so the piston won't start moving. What you have to do is you have to pressurize your system, and when you get to the pressure that the bottle's at, and then you open the valve on the bottle. You get my drift. I hope you do anyway. Just one more thing that I will add: if you use a whip like this to fill your smaller bottles up from your dive tank, and it's got the quick release adapter, and you want to fill these up, and your line from your compressor has got the quick release as well, what I got was, where is it? It was one of these little adapters, focus, to join the two together, and that seems to work okay. Whether it's going to explode on me, I don't know yet. Now I hope this has answered some of the questions that I received on Instagram. I'm still totally new to this whole setup. I've been using scuba tanks for several years now and getting them filled up at my local dive shop, but I really wanted to go and get my own fill station. It still makes me bloody nervous, to be honest with you. All this massive pressure behind these cheap Chinese components is still bloody worrying. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.